Nigerian women have proven their grit in the area of business and governance. Nigeria is home to female entrepreneurs such as Folorunsho Alakija, who, according to Forbes, is one of the richest women on earth with an estimated net worth of $1.7 billion. Now, the women featured today have overcome the numerous challenges faced by small and medium enterprises in Nigeria, from the lack of access to funding to the power outages. For Ibukun Awoshika, the founder of the Chair Center, who has been recognized by Forbes Africa, the challenge of Nigeria's furniture importation ban in 2004 presented an opportunity for growth in her business. Her story is one to tell.
It's probably easier to say that furniture chose me rather than that I chose furniture. I never had a thought or any inkling or plans in any way to get into furniture manufacturing. I pretty much had a good plan to... I served at Akinyelure Williams. It was my youth service, and I was serving in an accounting firm even though my first degree is in chemistry, because I thought I wanted to become a chartered accountant and then go and work in a bank. But I finished youth service and I changed my mind about accounting completely, but I still wanted to work in the bank. Now, I came back home from service and I wanted any job first to keep myself busy whilst trying to get a job in a bank, like every young person in the 80s. But the first job I could get a week after youth service was in a furniture company. And since I wanted any job to keep myself busy, I took the job. Now, I only lasted 3.5 months there. But in the 3.5 months, I discovered why I'd actually wanted to be an architect whilst I was at school.
Now, whenever you speak to successful entrepreneurs, there always seems to be a gap in the story, a funding gap. You never really hear that early story. And I think that's what a lot of budding entrepreneurs want to know. They want to know how you started off. So tell us, how did you get the funds to start your business in the early days?
I didn't have any money, that's the honest truth. But I had little savings from my 3.5 months work and youth service. I'd also found out, which is where the value of my 3.5 months of work comes to play. I'd found out there that when you hire your carpenters, they come with tools. I don't have to pay for it. They come with their own tools. And the carpenters will work for me for the first month. I don't have to pay salary until the end of the first month. I also found out that all the big machineries involved in furniture manufacturing, there were places where I could go and use the service and just pay for it. And the smaller machinery that I need to be in control of, I could rent for a day. Now, that reduced the total capital outlay required for me to get started. And what I need to do is sort of find my first job. I'd also found out in the company I worked for 3.5 months that when the customer comes to order furniture, he pays 70% then. He would pay 70% down payment. Essentially, to me, that was capital. And I just needed to find the first job and combine the different factors together of free labor for 1 month before I needed to pay for it, and make sure I finished the job within 1 month so I could get paid, so I would be able to pay my workers and all of. So it was really bringing all the different factors together that helped me with the first job, which is how I then got into building a relationship with a finance house. Now, a lot of young people will say to you, oh, finance house money is expensive. What do I care? It gave me a chance to do what I would not have been able to do otherwise. My initial cost is high, which is always what you pay. You pay a price for being small. You pay a price for the beginning. But if you're wise enough, you take advantage of it. But that price that you're paying that you know is high should be the driving force to make you diligent and prudent in managing the resources from the business. So essentially what I did was to allow the business to grow within itself by always retaining the maximum that I could from the money that we made in order to use it to fund the next job, and augmenting with short-term money from finance company. 30 days, high interest. I mean, there was a point, if I remember, in fact, when I took that 1 million naira loan, it was the worst period of the financial services in terms of interest rate in Nigeria. because it lasted a period of 15 months before I fully was able to pay off. But that was a period where interest rates went as high as between 42% to 70%. Yes, for finance houses. So even though I was paying back every 90 days interest and rolling over the balance, when I paid off at the end, I still paid 940 something. If I remember the figure exact, it was 942,000 naira. That was my payoff after 15 months on 1 million naira.
Besides funding, there are other issues that small businesses in Nigeria face, and one of such is getting clients to buy into your product or service. Now, I hear that one of your first clients was Texaco. So tell us about that experience.
At that point, they used to have this time leisure furniture exhibition at the National Theatre. And I said to myself that, look, this is where all the major players in furniture go. This is where key people looking for furniture will go to identify companies to work with. And I wanted us to show that we could do something, even though we're really young. It was our first year, literally. So my staff and I, we worked so hard, you know, produced everything. And then we shut down our workshop and went to the exhibition it was like for 5 days or something. Now, we were there amongst the big guys. And if you didn't know we were a tiny little company, the way we were set up, you'd have thought, we had such capacity and everything. But it was our entire life on display. Now, Texaco Nigeria had just built they were building a new office at McCarthy or Beckley or something around southwest Ikoyi. And they came to the fair to look for companies to bid for the job. They picked us as one of the 5 companies. They had no way of realizing we're a young company with a 26-year-old girl as the chief executive. And for all the other companies, it was just another job. For us, it was an opportunity of a lifetime. So we went for the meeting and all of that, and they gave a brief, and we had to put together a proposal. And of course, I worked like my life depended on it. Created, you know, a scrapbook, put fancy, just real childlike commitment to it. And by the time the process was over, to cut a long story short, the board approved for them to give us, and we had to make samples. Obviously, we worked on our sample and delivered a perfect sample. They awarded the largest part of the contract to us, and nobody knew they had given it to a little girl and her team.
Now, one of the things that grabbed my attention to your story is how you rose through the challenge of the furniture importation ban in 2004. Now, I'd like to get an idea of your thought process when that furniture ban came through. What did you do? What steps did you take?
Now, interestingly, we'd always dealt with 2 companies for our office chairs, but one was structured in a way that we felt they were better for us to partner with. So I approached Sokwa France and said to them, look, for 10 years, we've been a great dealer to you. We're in your top 10 dealership in the world, and we've always delivered value. My government has just changed policy, and that means that we can't do business as usual. I'm not interested in becoming a smuggler. The only thing we can do is to set up manufacturing in my country. They had a good laugh, but I was not about to give up. I believe in Nigeria, and I believe there are many things that we can do as Nigerians. And I fought for them to see it. And I said to them, you either come with me or I will do it with somebody else. But the one thing you can be sure I will do is I will do exactly what I've said. You will lose the market that I represent for you, and Nigeria will still move forward with this. So they told me they'll think about it, and I left. About 2 weeks after, they sent me the semblance of a first MOU, saying they will do about 5%, but they'll give us all the technical support. I took it because I just knew I needed a window, and that over time, they will understand the value of the proposition. About 3 months after, they actually changed their proposition and came back and said, you know what, we'll move our investment to 21%, and everything that you need will be right there with you.
And what about business people who want to walk the same path that you walked? What advice would you give them?
It's a long, tedious journey. It won't always be easy. It's actually a lot easier now than it was when I started. So it's actually a better time and a better season. That there is joy and fulfillment in pursuing your dreams and giving it what it takes. whatever it is. And also, to build for the long term, you need to build with the right structure and the right value system. If you want to build and you want it to last, identify what is right within the industry and within the laws of the land and follow it. And so as many people as have ideas, pursue it. Do the best you can to give it life. And there will be nothing more satisfying than seeing that you can build something out of nothing. For me, it's been an exciting journey, and I'm still enjoying the journey.
Certainly proof that anyone can start and run a successful business without a huge capital outlay. Our next entrepreneur needed pajamas for her children 19 years ago and decided to create her own. That decision led to the creation of contemporary children's clothing brand Rough-and-Tumble. Today, the company has over 150 employees and 13 branches.
I always say how I tell the story of a lifetime in 10 minutes always amazes me. But I started Rough-and-Tumble out of a personal need. I needed pajamas for my children, and I couldn't find any that suited my need. And so I decided to make pajamas for my kids. I no sooner had made them for my kids when my sister-in-law, Nene, said to me that, oh, can you make me 7 sets for my daughter? That my brother-in-law didn't like her wearing the same set of pajamas for 3 days running because she had sinus problems and she had to sleep without the air conditioning. And I thought, how many other mothers must exist like this? And my kids were in play school at the time. So I just made a whole load of samples and made a whole load of boys and girls pajamas. And every time I dropped my kids in play school in Shonibara Estate, I would say hello to the mothers and I would show them the pajamas. They were like 750 naira, 950, 1,200, 1,500. So there were things that you would have that kind of money in your bag and you could just buy them. And that's how the whole business really started. My husband then said to me, don't limit yourself to pajamas. Why don't you try your hands on other things? You know, there's shorts, there's shirts. And I thought, yes, why not? Because we hadn't been away for 18 months. So I did have a genuine shortage of clothing for my kids. And I realized that there was an opportunity in this when I went up and down Okpebi, Allen Avenue to see what was actually happening in that industry. What were the gaps in the industry? I wasn't looking at it from a big business point of view. I just needed to look at it from a point of view of what is missing and what could I provide? Where could I create value? Where could I be relevant? Where could I meet a need of other mothers? And that's how it all started. I realized that they weren't offering very much, and what they did offer was either overpriced or a mismatch of things. And you know, when your kids are little, you want them to look cute. So you want them to have, when they're in play school, you want them to have as versatile a wardrobe as well as possible. So one pair of shorts that you can wear with 3-4 different t-shirts and shirts, and same thing with your little girls. I realized that there was a gap there, and so I decided to make children's clothes. My neighbor said, come on, let's, she wants to do a teddy bear festival. Would I take part? She was looking for somebody to make clothes in Ankara. I said, not in your life. I'm going to be the person who's going to make those clothes. And she said, oh, what are we going to put outside the canopy as a name? And I thought, oh, then she said, what kind of clothes are you making anyway? And I said, clothes children can play around in, rough around in. And she said, okay, I know what I'll do. I'll draw a drum with children tumbling out of this drum. And I said, that's what you should write on the canopy, rough and tumble. That's it. Perfect. That's it. And that's what she did. And that's where it all started.
And how do you deal with competition, especially competition from foreign brands?
The first things I had to learn was this started out as something that I didn't think I was going to build a huge business out of it. Then suddenly I realized that there was a possibility of building a big business out of this. So the dynamics and the way I looked at the business began to change. And what then happened was I realized I needed to educate myself on managing a business and what it meant to create a competitive advantage, or what it meant to create a differentiation. How would I differentiate my business from everybody else? The first competition that actually came in was Woolworths from South Africa. And the way I handled that was to take all my staff at the time to actually go through Woolworths and tell them that Woolworths says that they're going to run us out of town. Now, are we going to allow ourselves to be run out of town by people who are not Nigerians, and we are Nigerians, and we understand what our needs are and who we are as a people? I challenged everybody in the entire organization. So we needed to get a mindset right that yes, this is competition, but it's because they're international, because they have heritage, because they have all the things that we are building locally, already built over a long period of years, didn't mean we should start shaking in our boots. Because you can also find fault with big companies. You know, they grow so big and they don't pay so much attention, or they're offering changes. And when you're small, sometimes it's to your advantage as well. So we had to develop a strong differentiation strategy, build a brand that was proudly Nigerian, which we put on everything that we did. This is a Nigerian brand. We're proud to be Nigerian. When we make, whatever we make has a label in it that says, proudly made in Nigeria. And that was the first place we started to fight the competition. But it also meant that we had to open our minds to expand and improve on the quality of our offering, improve on the quality of the value that we were presenting to customers, improve on price, improve on the features, on the detail of attention that we put on the clothing. So there was a lot that was going on all at the same time, and that's how I ended up in Lagos Business School. You know, because when you have knowledge and you can take better decisions, you make better choices. So I had to start from there, and we then grew the company that way.
And what about finding the right balance between price and quality?
The sweet spot of price versus value, quality. Really, the challenge is, there's no challenge actually. What is important is that value is based on perception. Quality is perception. What you're willing to pay is also perception. So any product that you're going to make has to go through the price, what it costs you, the time it takes you to take it to the market, what makes it, the features that it has, what makes it special. And then the last thing would be its reliability. So cost, because at that time we were producing more locally, cost was on our side, and we weren't always on our generator. Features, simple. From the design point of view, what we could offer locally in terms of detail on the clothing that we were making was cheaper to produce locally at the time than importing clothes from abroad. So it wasn't an easy thing to do, but we had to do it. We had to find a way to make it work. And as I say, it's based on perception. What are people willing to pay? And so you test the market with a certain price range. And if people buy it, then you know that they would accept that. What was important was to be authentic, was to be who we were, was to be true to who we were, was to build a brand that people wanted to be associated with and people wanted to buy. People wanted to be associated with it because it was proudly Nigerian.
And now tell us how the business has evolved, especially given the growth in the online space.
We have a website. We have just recently purchased the software that would link with our inventory so that we can fulfill orders in real time. That's where everybody's going now. It's cheaper than opening stores, given the cost of the stores in the malls here locally. It offers a lot of promise and a lot of opportunity. So hopefully by the end of the year, our customers should be able to buy directly from our online platform. We're quite excited about it and looking forward to it.
Now, you actually mentioned in the past that you're not interested in exporting outside West Africa. That's quite interesting, especially given that this is something that you could easily do.
We have a population of 180 million people. Why don't we try and service that industry rather than import from China? If we can get a cotton mill working that can make drill, that can make twill, that can make denim, and we can get a t-shirt factory going that can make good quality t-shirt. For us, quality is important. Durability in children's clothing is very important for us because they're going to go in the wash more often than adult clothing. So durability is not negotiable for us. So quality is not negotiable for us at Rough-and-Tumble. So it's important that you realize that there is potential in the local market, meet the needs of the local market, rather than try and fight in international markets where it's red. There are no blue oceans there. But we can create a blue ocean here because the population is there, the industry is not as developed as it is elsewhere, and from growing the local production and growing the technical competencies that we need, growing the skill, you have to do all of those things as well. You can then meet international needs. You can have the H&Ms, the M&Ss, you can have them come and we can produce for them here. But it must be supported by the government. Government must have policies in place that support international businesses coming to use Nigerian factories to produce.
Now, you actually mentioned that access to finance is not the big challenge. That the main challenge is turning that capital into a profitable business that can go on for many, many years. Given that, what's the secret to your success?
There are no secrets. It's hard work. It's focus. It's persevering. It's being relentless. It's believing in yourself, believing in your dream. It's building a team that believes in your dream. It's building a team that wants to be part of the dream. It's building a team that takes you from owner-manager to a professionally managed business that will outlive you. That's what it's about. And I think it's about processes, it's about systems, it's about mindsets, refusing to fail and seeing opportunities where nobody else sees opportunities, and willing to put your effort behind what it is that you see and what you commit to.
Still, I mean, capital is important because when you think of the Bank of Industry's 1 billion naira fashion fund, if you had that type of access to finance, especially in the earlier days, you know, some of the challenges that you faced back then, perhaps you wouldn't have faced them.
The cost of finance is very crippling to a lot of businesses in Nigeria. If you are borrowing money upwards of 20% to run retail, to run manufacturing, nobody else in the world is borrowing money at those rates to run those kinds of businesses, industries. So you're already at a disadvantage where costs are concerned and where prices are concerned. I joked, I said to BOI, even Rough-and-Tumble alone could do with the 1 billion that they're offering the entire industry. Come on. It appears like it's a lot of money. But equipment, buying equipment, setting up factories, the whole industry needs to be structured. And I'm very happy. I actually had a meeting yesterday with a group of people from both UNIDO and from the Export Promotion Council with looking at ways in which we can actually start mass production properly in Nigeria. And it's very exciting times, I must say. And I'm looking forward to scaling up and servicing as many millions of people across the world as possible and creating a truly Nigerian and truly authentic African brand in Rough-and-Tumble.
Now, we know that you've also partnered with the Nigerian Employers Consultation Association and also the Industrial Training Fund to help to reduce unemployment in the country. Tell us exactly how Rough-and-Tumble has contributed to those initiatives.
We have taken on our first 15 students, very exciting. It's being run by a foundation that is named after my mother, my late mother, Elizabeth Okubejo, Betty O, better known as Betty O, who really was the greatest inspiration in my life and taught me a lot of the values that have brought me to where I am today. It's impossible to tell this story without actually mentioning my mother, who was a great inspiration to me. So the foundation is actually named after her. And so we've got our first 15 students, girls, all girls. And what we're doing is teaching them skills on pattern making, basically how to set up a small business that can make them financially independent. If they choose to go into employment and would work with people like us or other designers, then they have the skills. They know how to make a pattern. They know how to cut. They know how to design. They know what it means to make a garment and the energy and effort that it requires. So it's our way of contributing. It's our way of giving back. It's our way of giving back value to the society. You know, I would like to make it bigger because there's a vacuum in the skill sets that are required when you're scaling up in the garment industry in Nigeria. I think that Yaba College of Tech needs to reassess their curriculum and all those things to come up to the 21st century, really. I think there's a disconnect between the needs of the industry and what they're offering. So it's to meet a need in the industry to create skills and to make people financially independent. I always believe that a financially independent woman is a gift to any nation, because she can make decisions and choices that will propel not only her forward, but her children as well. And when you're able to make decisions that take children forward, get children educated, get more people educated, you begin to build a society where you can reason, you can articulate, you can talk, you can have discussions for the benefit of the common good.
Value and quality are based on perception, and in business, perception is reality. Nike Ogulesi shows that authenticity and differentiation in your product or service will set you apart from competition, even competition from international brands. After the break, we focus on art, culture and tourism with Nike Davis Okundaye, the founder of Nike Art Gallery. Stay with us. Welcome back to the show. Dedicated to promoting art, culture and the heritage of Nigeria, Nike Davis Okundaye is the woman behind the Nike Art Empire. She is one of the most respected, internationally known female artists from Nigeria, having made outstanding strides in textile, visual arts and mixed media painting. Nike's Lagos Gallery, the newest of the four, contains one of the most extensive African art collections in Africa and is reported to be West Africa's largest art gallery. Take a look.
At the age of 6, with my great-grandmother, the way they pass education to kids in those days, because my mother died when I was 6, my grandmother died a year after that, and my great-grandmother is the head of all the weavers in our village, and also the adire dyer. She do adire, she do weaving. So the way they pass education to kids, that is how I learned from her. And that is what I master on after primary 6. And I have no money to go to college. Then I said, let me master on what I know and package myself in a good way. And that is how I started.
To talk about the growth of your business from the early days to where you are right now, because I heard that this is your 4th art gallery in Nigeria and your 2nd textile museum.
Actually, when I started with the textile, I start with only 1 shilling. And that 1 shilling, I carry stone, carry water, 3 pence, they pay you. And that is for a drum of water. A drum of water, sometime before you can get it, it will take you 3 days because you have to go to about 8 kilometers. That is how I started. And my first breakthrough was in 1974 when I was working and one Oyibo just come in and he said, oh, we are looking for teachers and somebody has recommended your name from US. Then I said, oh, by then I don't even know how to speak English. I said, try my signature. He said, what? I run to my weaving. My loom is women's loom. So I said, kwa, 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 kwa. So he said, what? I was now doing it to show him that this is my work. The one I called my signature, I said my try. So that is how he said, oh, you do this? I said, yes, my try. So that is how they now said, somebody at the Museum of Natural History, they were selling my work there since early 1968. And from there, they have 10 people going from Africa to teach the traditional design in Maine. Then they have no single female. And they now recommend, if there is no female in Africa, we will recommend one to you. And that is how my first breakthrough come. And I went with them. And all the people in my class, they are about 45, they are all men, only one female. Then I said, but this women, the men's own is different. This is women. They say, yes, this is America. So I worked day and night, and at the end of the day, they took us through 50 states that we should see what we can bring back that will benefit our people.
You must have faced quite a lot of challenges in the early days. Talk about that experience and how it prepared you for the success that you are today.
My first marriage life, we are almost 15. And these 15, they become my sisters later. We're supposed to be wives, but we now become friends at the end of the day, because after I come back from US, I see that this work can benefit people. I now say, there is a country that they love traditional handmade. If this Adire can carry me to go, let me teach you all. So we will not be fighting ourselves anymore to make money, or to be fighting on 3 pence that they give us for soup. That is how I trained the other female, and they said, take me there. So when we have program, we will go and teach and come back. So little by little, we are able to break through and have our own studio.
Speaking of training, we know that it's a key part of your business, and I hear that you've trained over 3,000 Nigerian youth, and you're also doing this for free.
Yes. Why I don't charge is because I suffer. And before you can become apprentice in those days, you have to have money for freedom, money for this. So there is a lot of talented people who cannot afford to pay for all this freedom. So then I said, if I have been able to get to this stage, let me also use this to help our own government. Not to be shouting, government should help all of us, whatever we can do to make sure we can bring our country to, that is how I started the training center. After the 15 colleagues of mine, then I went to the garage to pick people who are selling cola, matches, pepper. So I put them together, about 20. Then I trained those people for 2 months. After that, I bring them to Lagos to showcase their work, and all the money that they use, I give them food, accommodation, and I pay for the material for them. So when they sell this material, I said they are going to use it to start their own little business. So they will be training other people also free, so training the trainers.
Now, even though the Nigerian creative industry as a whole has grown over the past couple of years, the art scene is still not seen as a lucrative business. So how can we encourage more youth to take art up as a career?
Yes, I think there is so many ways we can use for the young people, because now that they are doing a lot of printing, so to start your business in Lagos, you know, you need a table, you need a little environment, maybe veranda, to be doing the wax, or if you want to do the adire. But if they can do repair some of our, I will say, the textile industry, so we can start printing the adire like Ankara. So more and more people will be able to do those, like work in the industry, print their work out with little money, which is not too much for them. And people can be buying it, so everybody will be able to afford to buy. Because when you are buying adire, you are talking above 1,000 naira, 1,500, 2,000. But you can buy Ankara for 600. So once they repair the industry, and we have another Arewa, like what our governor, Rufai, is repairing the textiles industry in Kaduna. That is where we have the Arewa textile. So if we can get all the industry to repair that, so you do one design and you just print it out and you make more money, because we need to sell to younger people the idea of wearing their own culture. This Ankara now is printed in Holland, is printed in Manchester, and they are selling 600, 1,000. But if we can print our adire here, so it will be selling for 500.
And what about the commercial possibilities of African art in the global art scene? Because I know that one of your dreams is to spread African art throughout the world.
The commercial part is, I'm looking at adire in a bigger form, which is bigger than what I'm seeing now. I would love to see it in an industrial way, like the Coca-Cola can. Adire should be there. Because it's made in Nigeria. They can still put Coke, but with Adire design. The rug, we have done the original handmade rug with Adire design, and people are buying it. So if we now make it locally, so people will be able to buy. The banner, we will put banner of Adire in different places in the small shanty area, starting from Oshodi, Ojuelegba, Mushin, all these places. So we will create more awareness, and more people will show interest. So it will now become, you will see a lot of young, talented people. They have the talent, but there is no place for them to really practice it. So they will be able to see, oh, in Mushin, we have one area with the local government. In Yaba, we will have with the local, because Lagos State is trying. They are trying to make sure everybody have something to do with their hand.
And now talk about your distinctive personal style. I read that you don't reproduce any of your fashion designs or color combinations in your work.
Yes, why I try to do something like that, anything made with authentic, and then you try to use hand instead of printing, they are more unique, and people always want their design not to be repeated. And because I'm doing that, it gives me more quality, more than the people who are just printing because of money. They are doing it fast. And Picasso, he said, artists can copy another artist, but it's not good for an artist to copy themselves. And that is why I always create, because my own art is inborn. It's inside me. And when people learn, they go to university to learn, that one is learning. And then they have a limitation. But when you are born into art and it's inside you, you will be able to create more and more every day.
Now, you've made a tremendous contribution to Nigeria's tourism sector. When you go on your website, the first thing that pops up is Visit Nigeria with Nike. Was this always part of the plan to showcase Nigeria in a positive light, or did this naturally stem through from your love of art?
Well, I will say it stems from the love of art, because Nigeria is a positive country, and I always want people to think positive about Nigeria and telling them the good part. You know, all what they can show about Nigeria is showing about Boko Haram, 419, because every egg have one bad egg that spoils the rest. This is the most friendly country in the world. It's not because it's my country. Nigeria is very friendly. They will leave what they are doing and take. Even this tour we are doing it to show the good part of Nigeria, to tell them that they should always think positive. When they come and we show them the good part, they now say, oh, they told me not to come to Nigeria. But I always want them to see the good part, because Nigeria is a very positive country. And I always tell them, think positive about Nigeria. Think positive about, because this is a positive taking place.
And looking back at your journey, would you say that you've achieved everything that you set out to?
Well, so far so good. I always give thanks to God. I have, the stage I get today, I was able to achieve, to impact a lot into the younger generation. If you go to Shogo now, you will not see nothing less than 70 students from Abia, Cross River, from different parts of Nigeria, who are coming to study with us. And this is my dream. It's like my dream is becoming true, but I would love to have it in every state. So the people who are still interested, because this color we are doing, which is called Adire, and then the dye is called indigo, is the color of love. And the color started from Osogbo. Osogbo ilu Aru, Aru Mbelo Osogbo, Osogbo se nwune lo. So indigo is the color of love. When you go to northern Nigeria, there is an ancient well, which is where they do the dyeing. It has been there for over 400 years. And that indigo pit, they also do tie-dye there. You go to eastern Nigeria, starting from Cross River, the stitching, and they dye it in indigo. You go to Benue, you see the tie and dye like what I'm wearing, and they dye it in indigo. You come to Ibadan, there is a special design called Ibadan Do. Ibadan is sweet, and it's a design created in Ibadan.
Training over 3,000 Nigerian youth for free, Nike Davis Okundaye is certainly making a difference. Now, what would it take to become the Boots Pharmacy of Nigeria? For Buki George, founder and CEO of Health Plus, this dream is on the path of reality. She has grown her pharmacy chain from a small business with 1 store to one with over 60 branches and 750 employees in 16 years. Her goal is to expand to 200 branches by 2018, and given her drive and passion, Boots Pharmacy may need to watch out for her.
So I studied pharmacy, and I got these bits of experience from hospital to community pharmacy. I did a bit of sales and marketing. I worked at May & Baker as well as SmithKline Beecham, which is now called GSK. And then I worship in a church that emphasizes purpose and, you know, achieving your potential. And I started asking myself questions about 4 years into my world of work. Now, that is on one side. On the other side was the fact that I saw the discord between the study of pharmacy, the theory of pharmacy, and the practice of pharmacy. It was quite disconnected. There were not too many pharmacies at the time that were quite like what we learned in class. And so I asked myself a question: is it possible to practice pharmacy ethically without doing other bits on the side like government contracts, etc., and make a living? So that was a question I asked myself, and I think it's a resounding yes. So I saw the gap in the practice of community pharmacy, and I decided to fill it, you know, with excellent services.
And that small business has now grown to one with over 700 employees and over 60 branches. Talk about Health Plus in the early days and the Health Plus of today.
Well, Health Plus day one started with, in one store, that was about 18 square meters in the GRA area of Lagos State, GRA Ikeja area of Lagos State. And we had 4 employees, including myself. We did some very right things. So I had a very good friend had introduced me to an article by Harvard Business Review, incidentally, and it had putting together your company's vision. So we had a very clear-cut vision statement, mission statement. Our core values were articulated. We also articulated our big, hairy, audacious goals, which I call the BHAGs, which is that thing that you want to be in the future that makes your heart, you know, flutter. And so all of that was articulated. We didn't have a business plan, so I didn't start with a business plan. I think all entrepreneurs should start with a business plan. But, you know, at that time, you know, we had this, which I now know to be called corporate philosophy. So we had it. And exceptional customer service, we guaranteed absolute quality, because we all know that fake and adulterated drugs is a big issue in Nigeria. So one of the things we did was to make sure that our supply chain was absolutely, had absolute integrity. We sourced scrupulously. And that way I can sleep at night, making, you know, knowing that our customers have quality medicines. Also, we invested a lot in our pharmacists in terms of training. So exceptional customer service, a wide range of quality medicine. So these were some of the good points, you know, that we started with. And did the right things over the years, a lot of continuous learning. That's very critical in the healthcare space. And today, we have actually 62 branches with about 750 employees. We're in 9 states and the capital as well. And we have a very audacious goal, like I said, which has been refined over the years. We plan to plant 1 Health Plus each in as many local government. In fact, what I say is we want to plant 1 Health Plus each in every local government, and there's 774 local governments.
Now, what type of financial support did Health Plus receive, especially in its early days, to kickstart your business?
I had personal savings, and then I borrowed a little bit from family and friends, so my cousin chipped in. And then we had supplier credit. So because we're in retail, we could access 2 months credit from our suppliers. And that was pretty much what we had in the early days. Like I said, doing the right things will definitely lead to word-of-mouth references and business growth. And over time, we grew. I was also extremely prudent. I would plow back, our earnings, our profit into the business. And that became, the funding that we had in the early days. But in our 7th year, so we started in 1999, which is about 16 and a half years ago. In our 7th year, we accessed the gender empowerment program of Access Bank. They had financing from IFC, IFC via Access Bank to SMEs. And I still remember the young lady who came to me and said, how can we help you achieve your dreams, which was refreshing. So we haven't had a lot of challenges as some entrepreneurs would have. And the reason is we have a proven track record. We have positive cash flow. We've done well from the get-go. Our business is very obvious and visible. We're also extremely transparent. And I know that financial institutions want to make funds accessible or available to entrepreneurs with integrity and accountability. And of course, you have to have your audited books. And also, we checked all the boxes for that. And it was easy. So the first was the GEM, the Gender Empowerment Program by Access. Then during the recession, things were really tough in Nigeria. A lot of the banks had put an embargo on loans. And so Growing came to our rescue, a South African organization. And they, again, would not insist on your collateral, but they would do cash flow lending, which for me is refreshing. And I wish a few more financial institutions did that. So Growing came to our rescue, and throughout the recession of 2008, 9, and 10, we actually grew double digits because of Growing. Then we've since moved on. In other words, we've paid them off, and then as we speak, we're being supported by our local banks, the major one being FCMB. And we've also signed an agreement with IFC. So FCMB is in charge of our retail expansion, and IFC would be funding our back end, which is the building of a world-class distribution center.
You then started a beauty supply business, Casabella. Why did you decide to make this move?
Okay, when I think of Casabella, I start to smile, because Health Plus is a very clinical part of me, but Casabella is the edgy, exciting part of the group. Casabella is a beauty supply store, and it's a one-stop store for grooming and beauty solutions for men and women. And we saw the gap in beauty. I saw the gap in beauty. Where do you get a compact mirror? Where do you get a nice toilet bag? Where do you get, all the myriad of hair products, especially these days that most women are going natural, or a wig or human hair, etc. So we saw the gap, and even though a pharmacy would have a lot of toiletries and beauty products, but there were some things that you would have in a typical Afro beauty store that you can't have in a pharmacy, like hair extension, wigs, etc. So we saw the gap, and it's also retail. And the back end, it complemented it. I call it a perfect complement to Health Plus.
Over the past 5 to 10 years or so, we've seen more and more pharmacies springing up on the streets of Lagos and Nigeria in general. How do you handle competition?
These days, some of the lows would be just access to foreign exchange. Whether we like it or not, we're not a producing country. We're not making enough to cope with our population. And having access to foreign exchange has become a real nightmare. And I'm hoping that the government would fix this real quickly. Some of our highs, I remember when we crossed the 1 million mark in terms of transactions in a year. That was amazing. I remember when we made our first billion naira, annually. That was great. And I think personally, sitting on a panel with the CEO of the World Bank, of IFC and Goldman Sachs, and talking about access to funding for women was also, a major, opportunity.
I know that you aspire to be the Boots Pharmacy of Nigeria. Are you open to investment or perhaps a franchise model for your business?
IFC will be supporting our growth. And with them comes, they give you smart money. Beyond the money, they give you support networks and linkages that would, help your business. In terms of growing via franchise, The laws of pharmacy are very restricting in Nigeria. A retail pharmacy must be wholly owned by pharmacists or group of pharmacists. So we do plan franchising. We're working on structuring the business, to franchise, but it would be franchise to pharmacists, not just anybody. Now, we have a technical partner in the UK who supports us because they are already threading the path that we wish to. We have that. But yes, we're open to partnerships that would help us achieve our potential.
And finally, what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs?
See that gap, find that need, and figure out how you can fix the problem or fill the gap at a profit. Basically, create value, get business skills. Focus is very critical. And I can't overemphasize the impact of networking, and not just exchanging a business card at a conference, but actually connecting and engaging with people that can help you scale up and achieve your potential in your professional life and personal sometimes. And connected to networking is also having a mentor. That really helps.
For Bukky George, one of the early secrets to success in business is finding and filling a gap. We have featured the inspirational business stories of Ibukun Awoshika, founder of the Chair Center and the next chairperson of First Bank, Adenike Ogunlesi, founder and CRO of our Rough-and-Tumble, Nike Davis Okundaye, founder of the Nike Art Gallery, and Bukky George, the founder and CEO of Health Plus. These women have one thing in common. They are all self-made millionaires who started small, thinking big. We hope that we've been able to inspire you to go out into the world, find your purpose, and live your dreams. Let's leave it there. I am Didi Akinyelure, and thanks for watching.